why you decided to run. They don't know the intent. So I wanted to just ask a question, and then you could kind of tell us your journey from announcing when you want to run, and then to where you are now. But I wanted the public to be aware that um, earlier this year you petitioned, you wrote a letter of intent to run as a writing candidate for the 2024, the actual general election. And one of the things that came out was you filed different names to use to run as a candidate. And there were some individuals out there that were was like, this lady's out of her mind. They don't know why she's doing that. And so I wanted to dive into that just a second, but kind of guide us to from where you decided to run, what were the priorities you had, and then after the primary election, because you did run in the primary election, after that election, what was your mindset moving into the general election, and then what were your thoughts about the things you're hearing about why you decided to do your write-in candidacy like that?
Yeah, I really haven't had much time to think about it after the general election results. I was watching a portion of the results that were being, because you were doing one, and
Mm-hmm.
and then there was Channel 12, WTJX was doing another one. So I was kind of trying to go between
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get an idea of how the young people were looking at this versus
Yes.
what
Mm-hmm.
WTJX was doing. And so I heard the commentaries from the part of the members of the panel.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, former Senator, and I always call him Senator Alfonso Donna Stork had an opinion about my coming back to run for office, as did Miss Jamila Russell. I don't remember the name of the other people that were on the panel, but it was hilarious because they were laughing as though it was funny, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they had ideas and opinions about the reasons why I didn't run in
Mm-hmm.
2000, when I left the legislature in after the 32nd.
Yes.
I was clear as to the reason why, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said that it was time for me to spend some time with my family. My
Mm-hmm.
son, who had been incarcerated since 2013,
Mm-hmm.
was finally in 2018. He was finally diagnosed with schizophrenia and
Mm-hmm.
was going to be either hospitalized or was going to be tried.
Mm-hmm.
And it was then when I knew exactly what his condition was, and I understood how important it was for me to be more involved in what was
Mm-hmm.
happening. And so I decided that I needed to step aside and spend more time understanding his condition and what was happening and
Mm-hmm.
where it would lead him. My father was also, he had been very sick, and my mom had had a mastectomy a couple of years
Mm-hmm.
before that. So I wanted to spend more time with my family. And that is why I decided not to run in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, no one begged me to run. That's not
Mm-hmm.
true. I don't think that I am not cotton candy. I'm not the most likable person. So no one begged me to run this time or any time. I made
Mm-hmm.
decisions based on what was in my heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I felt was important for me to do. So these individuals are misinformed, but I understand that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes spreading misinformation, salacious stuff, it makes it more appealing, and it makes you feel
Mm-hmm.
relevant. That's good for them. I don't need to do anything to make me feel relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to run this year because, listen, as a business owner, I'm part owner of Sonia's. I in
Mm-hmm.
Christiansted, I live it. I see it every single
Mm-hmm.
day. Every single day. I don't spend my time working for government. Government has not
Mm-hmm.
been my lifetime employer, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I understood clearly that we need to do something for St. Croix. We still do. And
Mm-hmm.
when the young lady in St. Thomas was arrested for the alleged murder of her daughter, that is what really made me consider running for Senate. because I understood that not enough people were talking about mental health and how that
Mhm.
impacts our community more broadly. And that is the reason why I decided to run. And I chose to run as a Democrat because I had left the legislature as a Democrat. And I
Mhm.
didn't want to run from the party, even though I knew that the members of the party, of the leadership in the party, were not happy with me. Why? Because I endorsed Senator Kurt Viale when he ran for governor.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I ran in the primary, and there was a concerted effort by some members of the leadership in the party to block my candidacy.
Mhm.
They sent Mr. Cecil Benjamin demanded that I apologize publicly for having endorsed Senator Kurt Viale, and I refused to do so.
Mhm.
I didn't make the cut, and I
Mhm.
decided that I would stay in the race because I still had a message, and I wasn't going to let Cecil Benjamin, get in my way. That's
Mhm.
how my parents raised me.
Yeah.
And so I stayed in the race as a write-in candidate, and that's that's what happened.
Mhm. Yes, yes,
And
yes,
so,
yes.
just briefly to finish off on the reason why so they told me that I needed to submit a list of all probable names,
Mhm.
and of course, if you ask me to submit a list of all probable names, I'm going to give you a list of all probable
Yeah.
names to include not Crazy Nellie, not Nellie, and all of those things that I know people would literally go and write. And in fact, if you
Mhm.
read the names of the people of the things that people wrote, some people wrote God, Jesus. I mean, there were some things that were out there. I don't know if you remember reading them, if you
Mhm.
saw them. So I was trying to capture every possibility that could
Mhm.
be intended for good or for harm.
Mhm. Yes, so I'm glad
And
you
so that's
mentioned
what
that.
I did.
Yes, and so the public, you were able to just get a recap of what her journey was like from when she first decided to run, for the legislature this term. You wasn't successful in the primary, and then she decided to run, continue her campaign in the general election. Just for the record,